Cheers, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? 7 December. I think this is Pearl Harbor Day. Morgan will confirm in a second. Yeah, I missed last week. I was filming my first music video, and that became kind of the driver for the conversation tonight. I was thinking about, from when I left the military, all the fucking shit jobs I did. Well, they weren't shitty. They were shitty to me. To finally being able to get to do something I like. So that's kind of the driver behind tonight's conversation. Well, there's Jennifer. There's the Blue Rocketeer. What's going on, bud?
No, this is it. Kind of hanging out, and you are indeed correct. 7 December 1941.
Pearl Harbor Day.
Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. So, yeah. I guess also World War II related on the yesterday, which was the 6th of December, we celebrate the disbandment of the 1st Special Service Force, 1944, December 6th, in Menton, France. And right now there's Canadian soldiers in Fort Lewis, Washington, and they did a wing exchange. They did a jump yesterday to commemorate the disbandment of the 1st Special Service Force. So good old December is a busy month, right?
Is that right? Wow.
Indeed it is. I've done that before too. I've done it. I've gone down to Fort Lewis, and it was a lot of Patricias jumped with Green Berets from Special Forces Group Alpha. And so we jump their parachutes, they jump ours. I think I jumped out of an American Chinook, and then we get on the ground. There's a big ball in Tacoma, and anyway, good piss up and it's a good time. So the boys are down there celebrating that. And for those of people who are listening who are not familiar, what this 1st Special Service Force was, it was from 1942, 1944. It was a very short-lived unit, but it was essentially a special forces unit that was a combined American Canadian unit. And there was a movie made a long time ago called The Devil's Brigade. And so if you want to check that out, it's actually pretty interesting when you see like the Canadian soldiers march in to the camp in Montana as the Americans are beating the shit out of each other. So it's a good movie. Anyway,
there you go. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
So what's the thing? Like, I know they have a reunion at Siffler Falls every June or something, don't they?
Siffler Falls isn't 1st Special Service Force. Siffler Falls is the 1st Canadian Parachute Battalion, and then into the airborne.
Okay,
it's
right.
More of a Canadian airborne.
I'm mixing the two up. My bad. There you go. You're a military historian here. Fuck, I'll tell you.
And I believe, and right now, our Canadian Special Operations Regiment actually carry the colors of the force. I think they were carried for a while by the Canadian Airborne Regiment, and they've been handed on to CSOR.
Right on. Yes, and also the 4th of December was St. Barbara's Day, the patron saint of gunners, sappers, and pretty much anybody who has anything to do with shit that goes boom. So, yeah, lots of stuff for December. And obviously with Pearl Harbor Day, that was the United States' entry into World War II. And you know the rest, which rapidly helped World War II come to an end. And fucking here we are in this lovely world today. Mr. Hooper, you made it.
How is everybody doing?
Look at you with slick back. You look groomed.
You do.
Like slick back.
Yep.
You trim that beard and everything too. Like I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Man.
No, I actually brought my youngest for a haircut, and there happened to be room in the chair to get a little bit of a line trim, and here I am.
Looking sharp. Where are you? What the hell's in your background?
It's my one daughter's bedroom. Quietest place in the room, quietest place in the house, to be honest.
And what are those skeletons doing?
They look like they may be sucking face.
Yeah, that's weird, man. I'm not going to ask.
No.
For those of you listening to this after the fact, he's got this weird banner in the background. Kids are weird these days. I'm not saying your kid's weird. I'm saying kids.
No, my kid's weird. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, Maddie is 16 and is definitely unique as her father and her mother.
Well, there's nothing wrong with being unique, except when you're in fucking uniform. But anyway, I didn't mean to go there.
Yeah, it's different altogether. Yeah.
So, we're going to talk transition. Like I said, I shot that video last week, and I've been editing it all week and today. we recorded some interviews Monday night. I did all the and started editing yesterday, and I'll do some more tonight. After I did some today, and I'll do a bunch more tomorrow. And it's fucking a wild ride. And it just kind of drove the thought process of going back to the military and the shit I did between what I'm doing now, which is obviously this podcast, helping produce other podcasts, and the real driver, which is why I bought all this shit that you can't see, was to start rolling video. And I know we've talked, Bryce, about doing stuff, and I needed a kickstart project to get me going. So this has been really a fucking steep learning curve, but it's the first time in a long time, I can tell you guys, where I woke up motivated to start work, quote unquote.
That's
work.
cool. Yeah. It was quite a unique experience, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like, I did oil and gas shit right out of the military. I went to Suncor. That lasted about 5 years, and they creatively fucking got rid of me. Another company, then another company, then another company, you know, with this civvy world's fucking tough. We'll kind of get into that later on, especially this is some shit from Morgan to pick up on, because he's going to give us an update in a bit of what's going on with him. And that transition is tough, because the civilian world, especially if you get into the oil and gas industry in Alberta, is up and down and volatile. So it creates its own stresses on making crazy, as we say, Mac money up in Fort McMurray. And then, you know, you're in a boom or bust situation. Suddenly you're on your ass for a while, back up, back down, back up, back down. It's not that steady, you know, very, very slowly rising paycheck that you got when you were in the military. That job security does not exist in the civilian world. So let's, yeah. So Bryce, when you got out, I know we talked about excuse me, but I'm tripping over my tongue. We talked a bit about it last year. You went through a bit of a rough road, but just kind of like, what was your journey to get from there to fucking here?
My experience was statistically driven, to be honest. I was going through a divorce through my leave as well. So that was interesting. I found myself on the streets, struggling with addictions and so forth. My mental health drove me into the hospital. But just like everybody else, I was one paycheck away from homelessness, which then drove my after recovery, what I'm doing now, kind of thing. So,
did you? We're going to get into the transition group, which was formerly known as JPSU, the Joint Personnel Support Unit, in a bit. Did you get any support from them or through the CF at all as part of recovery?
100%, dude. Yeah, I was sent to the JPSU for a couple of years in Winnipeg to help with my transition with my mental health. That was on a severe decline while I was still in. And then as well, on my exit point from 2011 to 2013 at the JPSU in Edmonton, there was support from admin staff. There was a sergeant or a warrant officer always checking in. There was always somebody trying to help with something to an extent. There was always some sort of course that you could take to better yourself. Yeah. But the way my mental health was, I couldn't leave my house, let alone if I was to get to a vehicle and then make my way to an appointment. It always seemed to be a struggle. So,
okay, yeah, that's so everybody kind of understands what we're talking about with that acronym. Again, what is now the Transition Center, and Morgan's going to talk a little bit about where the direction of the trajectory he's on, because feels like you're at, you know, unless I'm wrong, you're squared off in the fucking door, ready to punch out.
Yeah, pretty much.
JPSU, now Transition Center. It had another name at one point. I can't remember what the fuck it was.
It was SPHL.
SPHL, and what the? I
have no
idea what that stands for. It was SPHL, then JPSU, or whatever. Anyway, now they've simplified it. It's called Transition Centers that fall under the transition group, which fall under somebody. chief of personnel or who fucking knows. I don't know.
Whatever,
Their main function, and you can Google all this stuff. If you're a current serving member watching this, because it pertains to you, it doesn't pertain to people who are already out, is mostly for quote unquote broken service members that are either mentally broken or physically broken or a combination thereof, that can no longer meet universality of service, for lack of a better term, or whatever, and they are exiting the military. But before they exit the military, they go to the transition center to facilitate the transition to civilian life. Now, I never went through that. I just did a normal release. My problems didn't come up till fucking, later on in life because I was too tough. So I don't really know much about what they offer. So, I mean, Bryce, maybe you can help out here from when you went through it. And obviously we can't speak to it today. What do they offer there? I worked above them for a few years, but I don't remember what they did when I was on the second floor, what they did on the first floor. That might help.
Absolutely. Yeah. The transition center was definitely there to help you navigate from the military aspect of things through your release, including everything from getting resumes ready if you were looking to get back to work, if you were needing guidance through physiotherapy or through the physician world, you needed extra care through that way. If there was appointments, that kind of jazz. And then there was also different courses or work placement that they'd put you through where if you were still employable within the CF, they could get you to cut grass with CE or go over to transport and do that kind of stuff as well too, or help you and guide you through the release process, because it could be as simple as going to a couple of appointments, turning in your kit and leaving, or it could be as they guide you through that 2-year release process, and they help you set up mental health both on the base and then help you set up something for transitioning on the civilian side as well, because it's when you get out, your mental health care does not stop. It's a continuous thing.
So how long are people typically there?
Your transition, depending on what kind of release you have, it could be as quick as 30 days, or they help people transition up to 2 years, I believe. I know my transition was at least 2 years. They helped kind of square off my mental health to an extent where it was manageable. I wasn't in and out of psych wards as much.
Which is a bonus. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, with my release, it was messy because I was actually, my official release date, I was in a psych ward. So
Fuck.
The public affairs officer who was sent down to shake my hand and give me my certificate wouldn't even cross the security base to come and shake my hand, thank me for my service for what they were sent down to. So everybody's transition is going to vary. Depends on how much you've gotten under control of your mental health, or what kind of space you want to head into in the civilian world.
Okay. So Ryan's got a comment. TC Edmonton is excellent as long as you're not a jerk. So
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I think that's like a rule for life. Most places are pretty good as long as you're not a jerk.
Give us the fucking update of what's going on, man.
I mean, with me, so about a month ago, the chief of fed staff released his, third directive with regards to COVID and the vaccine status and all that dog shit. And so I want to say last week, I was told, yeah, you're coming back to work. And I was just like, yeah, am I now? So for those people that aren't aware, I was sitting at home for approximately 12 months and 2 weeks. So just over a year, sitting around doing, I wasn't doing nothing, but I mean, essentially, just kind of
12 and a half months won't come in. Like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, they're like, yeah, you're back to work. Like, well, they thought I was going to come back to work, and they're like, yeah, like, all's forgiven, all's normal. Like, don't worry about it. And I was like, Yeah, I don't know about that. So I was like, okay, right on. So I okay, well, I had to go back into work on the Monday morning at 08, and I just well, and they're like, yeah, first timing is 08. Combat's on, and I went and I spoke to like my chain of command, and I was just like, yeah, like that's not happening. Um, uh, yeah, like no, like people can say what they want, and I said this to my chain of command. This is exactly what I said to them when I sat down, because they're like, "Yeah, you're gonna come back. You're gonna go back into your old position or an equivalent position. So you're gonna go back into a quartermaster position and back into meriting and everything like that. And right now the battalion is deployed to Latvia, so they kind of really needed me back there because they're so short staffed and they need some senior NCOs that make things happen. Do senior NCO stuff. And I said, I was like, with all due respect, I was like, I'm not doing it. Like Chris, you and I have talked about it. And you said, hey, if you were my trooper, I would have fucking charged you under the NDA 126, which makes perfect sense, but I wasn't. So I actually looked at them and I said, I can come to Jesus with what I have done to put myself in this position. Fair enough. I failed to follow direction, so here we are. I was like, however, I was like in 2022, when everybody likes to talk a big game about leadership and mental health, I was like, I said I was abandoned. And they're like, what do you mean? And I was
Yeah,
like, there's people, I said
100%
the
you
Canadian
were.
Armed Forces right now, people in this unit. I was like in units in this brigade. I was like that have been charged and convicted with sexual assault, possession of child pornography, rape, and so on. Like horrible crimes. I was like, and this unit and other units stood by those members. I was like, and I was cast aside. I was abandoned. I was like, so with that, I was like, maybe I'm the one that's wrong. Maybe I'm the one that's out of step. I was like, but this organization, I was like, is not for me any longer.
Well, and that's what you and me talked about
I
this
was
the
like,
other
so
day.
people, yeah. I was like, so the only
And
thing I said I want and I was totally calm and cool and collected. I was like, so with that, I was like, I've got a memo here. I was like, and I'd like to go to the transition center. I was like, I've got 23 and a half years in the army. I was like, I'd like to go over, take advantage of the programs the transition center has. I said, so I can exit the military. I was like, in the most positive way possible. I've had a good career. I've got, no complaints. I mean, other than the last year, it's been kind of a bit of a bumpy ride. I was like, but I have no desire to continue to serve because clearly I'm the one that's out of step and I'm the one that's wrong, and that's fine. So
Not
I
at
just want to
all.
leave now.
Congratulations, by the way. That's a
yeah,
great choice on your behalf, my dude.
they had all the tools at their disposal to enforce discipline
Yeah,
last year,
yeah,
and we talked about this, and then they flip flopped and fucked the dog on it, and it was different across every unit, and every
yeah,
CO handled it differently. And if you don't know what we're talking about, you know, straight up refusal of a vaccination. And now it's like, oh, well, we need you to come back to work. But if you don't come back to work, what, we're going to charge you? I'll be like, fuck you, man. You're going to charge me. Now you're going to pick and choose when the code of service discipline applies and when it doesn't. I don't blame you. You,
yeah.
you were abandoned 100%. Your unit abandoned you. And that
Yes.
is the current state of fucking shit leadership in the Canadian Forces. And I'm not in right now.
Yeah. No,
Right.
it
I
shows
can
it.
tell you firsthand from what I've heard from guys that are currently serving, personal
Yeah.
friends that are currently serving, what you see in the newspapers about a woke military that is subservient
That
to the
Sentinel
government,
program is a failure, obviously.
and it's a fucking disaster. And I'm happy I'm not in, and I'm not shitting on the Canadian Armed Forces as a whole. I'm shitting on what it is devolved into. And
Yeah.
I'll get off my soapbox. Morgan, talk me through, how do you get to transition center? I know there's a few people watching this as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Like,
I'm
what's
kind
the
of jumping through
process now?
hoops
You
right
just
now. I'm kind
ask
of
or
figuring
what?
out as I go along. I mean, uh, there's a few things. I mean, number one, I was like, there is like a criteria. You can't just wake up one morning and be like, I'm burned out. Send me over here because I'm just done. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but if you meet the criteria and there is a CAN4Gen, and like, so I read through CAN4Gen and I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I was like, with regards to like time served, mental health, physical health, amongst other things, I meet the criteria that way. So I submitted a memo stating, I'd like to go to transition center. Here are the reasons why. And then, you know, I've got a few annexes attached to my memo. So everything from my mel, so you know my mel, so all my med file, as well as like the Can4Gen itself with whatever highlighted paragraphs, and saying, yeah, this is what I want to do, and I want to, you know, I'm essentially I'm done.
Because
And
that's what I
from
never
there, like
understood.
there has to be a bit of coordination between, say, my chain of command
Yeah,
as well as the medical system, because then it's going to go and from a medical point of view, so the medical system is going to have to review my file, and I have to get approval through the med system to make sure that like IND qualify. And
right.
now, obviously, like through like the doctors on base and things like that, like I've already talked to them. They're tracking what I'm doing. Like when people see my file, there's going to be no surprises, and this should go fairly smoothly for me. Um, you know, I'm on my second temporary medical category, so it's just one more. You've got two medical categories back to back. Support from your chain of command, support from the medical system, and then there's a form that your chain of command has to fill out along with my memo saying that I want to go to transition center, and then I should be able to, you know, quickly and smoothly head over to the transition unit in Edmonton here.
Okay, it looks like Ryan did the same thing. And to answer Mike's question, he will not be dishonorably discharged. It'll be either a medical 3B release or a normal fucking
Whatever release, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I just never understood the process, whether it was initiated by the unit to say, okay, this guy's broken either physically or mentally or both. We're forcing transition center, like we're sending you there.
Yeah.
Or you can say, look, I'm done. I can't do what you want me to do anymore. Right? Like you're still non-deployable technically, right?
Yeah, essentially.
Right? So, and you're in an infantry fucking unit and you're a sniper. You know, when you're a 031 death tech and you can't deploy, what the hell are you going to do? Go to the recruiting center, go to the fucking museum? I don't know.
No, they remuster you to become a truck driver.
Yeah. No, and that's one of those things. Like I could, you know, although I'm non-deployable, like so I can't do an overseas deployment. If I chose to stay in, I could take a posting to a school or recruit some like non-deployable, you know, place, whether that's a Bayside posting, a school. Who knows? I could go there because I mean I could still have, like, you know, just with my knowledge, value added to the system and train young soldiers and young officers. But I think just where I live currently, it's not for me anymore. Just all the politics behind it and everything that's currently going on in the world, like it's just not a place that I can be anymore. Right? In order to be a soldier, you kind of have to be nonpartisan, and right now that's just not me. So, like I said, I'm the one that's out of step. So I'll gracefully bow out. You know,
No,
I'm
and
not
I
going to
was
sit around and piss and moan and say everybody else is wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm the only one that's right. It's time for me to move on.
Well, to Kel, that's a complex question you're asking, and I don't have a direct answer because it's just
Well, no, it's actually a simple answer to that question. Now,
okay.
I could just, you know, put in a 4C voluntary release and just kind of leave on my own accord. But I think, you know, after, you know, I'm 23 years, you know, plus in the army, in the military. I mean, I'm somewhat institutionalized. If I was just to pack my bags and leave tomorrow, I'd probably be in a shit state. So this is going to actually help me slowly transition out of the military.
That's exactly what we're
in the
getting
most positive way.
100%.
And there's programs and courses and things that the military offers that I don't even know what I don't know. I'm hoping that when I get to the transition center, like I have an idea of what I want to do, the direction I want to head. So I'm hoping that when I get there, some people, you know, there will be like, wow, like, okay, you've actually got a plan. You know what you want to do. Here's how we can help you. And moreover, here are other things that you're unaware of that will help you in your transition out of the military into civilian life.
Well,
so,
just to give everybody a war story, I'm going to date myself here a bit. The military has gotten a lot better at helping people transition while they're in. And I'll give you an example. So in 1989 or 1990, I was at J Battery 3 RCHA in Shiloh, Manitoba. And we were having one of those PD sessions, professional development sessions. So we all get hauled into the a classroom. And the troop commander, I don't know if Doug's watching this. His name is Doug Cromery. He's a really good dude. He's no longer in the military anymore. He went through a lot of fucking shit himself. He was giving us a PD lecture, if you will, on fiscal responsibility, financial management, RSPs, and we didn't have a fucking clue what he was talking about. We're like, what is this guy talking about? Like, back then, the system was designed for you to not have to worry about anything except your job. So if you lived in the shacks or you lived in a PMQ, your rent was taken out of that. Your rations and quarters came off your pay. If you got a phone in your room, that came off your pay. You bought all your stereo and bullshit at the Canex and it went on the Canex plan. It came off your pay. Maybe a car payment outside of that. You didn't have to worry about paying bills. We had guys who did not know how to pay bills because everything was taken care of for them. That's as we progressed through the 90s and 2000s, they slowly got away from that. And that was never the way to do it. But that's how they wanted it. They didn't want you to worry about that shit. They didn't want guys that had carrying debt or any of this shit. So they managed as much of it as they could. And it was helpful kind of when you're starting out making fuck all pay. But eventually you need to be able to learn those basic skills, because once you leave the military, you got to pay for all your own shit. Like there's no, it's just, that's the way it was. But it was so alien to sit through this lecture and listen. I didn't know what an RSP was, or I didn't save money. Money went in, money went out.
Yeah, 100%.
The night before payday, I'd be surfing a check, pulling out money, and so I could go down to the bar and blow it all and just repeat.
Yeah, and by Tuesday the following week, it was already blown.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But I mean, it's not like that now. Now, the Canadian military housing guys don't really exist anymore. It's all thrown out to a third party. If I'm not correct,
that's correct. Yeah.
They don't want the guys in the shacks. They want them on the economy, which is good and bad. It's good for their personal lives, but it's bad for building morale and cohesion. Like when you lived in that fucking gated base and your whole life was there, it was either the mess or the field, and that was it. But those
good times.
Good time. They were great times.
Yeah, Ryan was saying, the Sergeant Major's canteen always took my money too. Yeah.
Oh,
it was always a week behind on that guy.
That was another thing, right? You'd be on the field for 6 weeks, and the Sergeant Major, he had a canteen truck, and you could buy all your chips and smokes and shit from him. Then you come in, you get field pay, put your fucking wash basin and bungee cord on.
Yeah, there we go.
Actual pay parade. You lined up, and the battery clerk was there, like in front of you. You'd show your ID card in the left hand. You'd sign for your field pay.
Yeah.
And then you take one pace left, close march, and there was the BSM, and you're handing all that field pay back to pay off your shit.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Fuck, man, that's how it was. It was good times. Okay, no more old guy stories. Yeah, you got a lot to think about getting out, because you're getting out at a shitty time. The economy is a fucking disaster. I'm not going to get into that right now, but it's you really need to. I guess we'll do the words of advice is plan your exit. I've seen so many guys fail to plan their exit. Whether they were just retiring normally, they maxed out 30 some fucking years of wearing uniform, or suddenly got a 3B, but at least they're automatically getting pension. Your military pension's not that much. I don't care what rank you were. It doesn't cover today's costs.
Not at all.
Need, unless you were a rock star with your money throughout your career and your house and shit was paid off. And I don't fucking know anybody like that. I'm sure they're out there.
Yeah.
You need to plan your exit and line up what your next career is going to look like. And I know
100%,
you definitely got some crazy skills, Morgan, if you can find the right guys to put them to use.
Yeah. And that's and that you kind of hit the nail on the head there, Chris. Like I said, you got to plan your exit. I mean, but that goes for anything in life. I mean, if you're going to do anything in life, you have to kind of sit down and kind of, plan it out to some degree. Otherwise, just if you think you're just going to kind of skate, and next thing you know, things don't pan out the way you thought they were going to, you fall flat on your face. I mean, like normal military planning, you're going to come up with your 3 courses of action. I mean, this is what you want to see happen, but you're also prepared for, course of action 2 and 3. And, like Ryan said, have 3 months of living saved. You know,
That's a
because
very good point.
even from a pension
Yeah.
standpoint, like how long does it take for your pension to kick in? I mean, in a perfect
Yeah.
world, you know,
It's
better
not
now.
overnight. It's
Yeah.
30 days sometimes, but I've seen guys go up to 90, if
Yeah,
not more,
Ryan,
6
Ryan's
months.
not
on
longer,
point, man.
yeah, right?
Have 3
So-
months worth of pay saved up. I mean, and
Yeah.
I'm also hypocritical on have a plan because I had no plan.
Yeah.
My shit was handed to me on a fucking platter by my former boss
You know,
while
there's
I was in
also
Afghanistan.
oh
While I
wow.
was in Afghanistan, he said, when you get back, you're not going to be able to readjust to going back to fucking normal, you know, parade square life and shit from the stuff I was doing.
Yeah.
And I was already mad. There's a lot of reasons I was mad. I'm not getting into that today. So I had a job waiting for me as soon as I got back. All I had to
Oh,
do was
wow.
release. And that took a bit of time, but I was lined up with a fucking wicked job in McMurray because we were in Alberta was in the middle of a boom.
Mhm.
And I brought a couple guys with me that also got out at the same time. Because if they would have missed that window, they'd be in a shitty state. So that's
Yeah.
it is hypocritical to be honest in that, but
Well, not really, Chris. Like once again, everything is you know, dependent on, you know, the time in which you release. So you did have a plan. It's just that just because we were in the middle of a boom, it was kind of idiot, and you could put all your eggs
Well,
in one basket because you knew it was going to
there. I
work
mean,
out.
I had like 6 months heads up. I talked to him in December.
Yeah, so to say
We
you
got
didn't have a
back in
plan, you're kind of
fucking
selling
May,
yourself
end
short.
of
You
May.
absolutely had a plan. It's just you
This
only had
month.
one course of action. It just worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had one COA handed to me. So
Yeah.
okay, fucking done deal. But that was kind
You
of
know,
the plan.
At the same time,
Yeah.
guys leaving or guys releasing now, especially in the Edmonton area, there's the Veteran Food Bank that's set up. They have financial help as well too, so you don't have to worry about paying your bills. If you can go there, and there's qualifications to meet, of course, but they will financially help you as well, not just a food thing. And then
Yeah.
they'll help you guide you through your benefit program as well too, which is a
Yeah,
big
and
one because a lot of guys
I'll
don't
tell
know
you
how to
what,
get through
man.
that.
Bryce nailed that on the fucking head. That shit
Yeah.
didn't exist back then.
5 years ago, it didn't either,
Organizations
though.
that are around,
Yeah.
right? Like the
Yeah.
amount of help I've gotten to deal with my Veterans Affairs stuff in the last year and a half has been
Yeah, absolutely.
astronomical compared to what it have been like when I got out, which is, you know, almost 10 years ago was my
Well,
for my
even-
release date.
Even 12 months ago, there wasn't a thing, Homes for Heroes in the Edmonton area. That was never an issue. Yes, there was other organizations that had housing that you could access if it really came down to it. But you never had anything where it was a crisis where you could be in the next morning if you needed it.
Yeah. Homes for
there was-
Heroes is one of those awesome things that shouldn't have to exist.
Yeah,
But
and
thank God it does.
you know, it exists, but the problem is now the 20 units are full. So now there has to be
God,
something
it's
else that we do
Fucking
too.
35 blowout, man. I know.
Yeah. Man. And it's bad. It's real bad. Lately, they've been, the local Gestapo has been out patrolling the streets and basically picking people up out of their tents, claiming that they're just picking up garbages and so forth. But these peace officers are going through and moving them out, and some can stay and some don't. Some are getting pushed further out of the inner core, and some are getting pushed into the inner city even more. And then they're leaving other ones alone in the river valley, and there's other places that have giant encampments that aren't being touched. But there's a lot of excuses being made by the city right now, especially
doubt.
minus 30, and these
No
humans are
doubt.
outside.
I believe that I'll bet you every Homes for Heroes is full right now because things are fucked out there. Whether you know,
Oh yeah, the Calgary one has been at max for a couple of years now. I'm pretty sure the Winnipeg one I don't think is even established. There's one that was established, doesn't have broken ground in Hamilton too, or somewhere in Ontario. I knew was breaking ground too, but it just sucks that this is something that the military's been around for a very long time, and you'd think they'd have this kind of shit sorted out. But why does it? Yeah, why does it have to be veterans? Why does it have to be service members that are figuring it out after the fact? This system has been in play for so long. Let's talk about that.
I'll tell you what. Okay, to be fair, so to be semi-fair, I try to be impartial.
Yeah,
The military's partially at fault because it's got the transition center or the transition group with the transition centers is designed to set you up to be successful, but it can't keep you for 28 years and coddle you. And then on the flip side, the back end of that, once you go out that door, you should be falling under Veterans Affairs, which is sure as fuck gone through its growing pains and evolution to keep pace with the specifically since the Balkans conflict in the former Yugoslavia and with the shit in Afghanistan. They were sitting idly doing pretty much fuck all because the Canadian Armed Forces hadn't done anything since Korea, not of any significance. I mean, what was the next big thing before that? 74 war in Cyprus? That's fucking her, man. Through the 70s and 80s, there was nothing. Then the 90s kicked off, and these guys, shook the cobwebs off and really had nothing in place to keep the pace with the operational tempo and the amount of stressors and injuries physically and mentally the guys were coming back with that impacted their ability to function in the civilian world. So they're fucking to blame more than the military to me. That's a shared blame.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
it's a program that should have been hand in hand for the military.
Right. But you're correct. I'd say the bulk of the programs that have come out, and I can just speak to Edmonton alone, with the Veterans Association Food Bank, with Homes for Heroes. And then, I mean, you've got all these other ones. There's a fucking million of them out there. Wounded Warrior. Help me out here. What else?
Oh, there's a couple of really cool organizations in the Jasper area that help out veterans and adventures as well, too, as long as you can make your way out that way.
Veteran Villa on the south side.
Yeah.
Cockrell House in BC. There's a lot, man, if I took the time to think about it. But those organizations didn't exist until the problem became so obvious.
Yeah.
And how far behind Veterans Affairs Canada was.
Yeah, 100%.
And how short-sighted the Canadian Armed Forces was. And again, I'm not dumping on these organizations. I'm simply illuminating the terrain on which we are currently deployed.
No, and a lot of these organizations are civilian started. They're the ones who are seeing that there's so much struggle going on. And then, of course, there's money and capital and everything else that gets involved after the fact. But it shouldn't be that way. There's enough generals that have been retired that must have seen the rest of us go through the meat grinder of a release program that there is. Yes, it's gotten better over the years.
Fucking tell me one general you're going to count on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Rick. Yeah.
You're all working for SNC Lavalin. I mean, I don't even fucking go there. I'll just start raging and wrecking my shit.
No, it's a beautiful cut.
I guess, Chris, just devil's advocate, right? So,
yeah,
there's a lot of, obviously, Veterans Affairs, a lot of programs. There's a lot of things. Now, granted, it's almost a bit of a fucking mystery. Nobody knows everything that's available to you. It's something you kind of dig and figure out on your own. It's they don't volunteer this information to you. But it's coming to a point now where people know there are things that you can possibly do to help yourself out. So, I mean, at the end of the day, the world's a cruel place. And since when has the world or anybody given a shit about your feelings or my feelings or anything else? Doesn't matter what you've done. Doesn't matter who you are. So there does come a bit of personal responsibility. I know, I'm no more important than anybody. Just a number. Nobody gives a shit. But the person who does give a shit about me, is me. So if I'm going to be the only person that's going to determine how successful I'm going to be outside the military is me. So I can sit around and cry my beer and be and look for handouts and be everybody should help me because I was an airborne sniper and I was badass. Nobody gives a shit. So if you're not willing to help yourself, don't expect anybody to pick you up either. Right?
100%.
So now that's just me. Maybe
no, and I agree with you 100%. My biggest fear is that guys are going to be approaching release who don't have a plan, and they're going to see all these fucking organizations out there and start abusing the system.
That's been going on for 100 years already.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
No. Define
abusing the system. Yeah.
What do you mean abusing the system?
Yeah. Or is it actually using the system?
Exactly. What's using and what's abusing?
I know guys that are fully, I know new guys that were fully capable and able to work. And we fucking told them, have a plan before you release. Have a plan before you release. They got their little payout, fucking blew it all on a truck or a Harley. Now they can't afford to feed themselves. So they're calling the fucking food bank. Right?
There's guys that make
guy out on the
10
West
to 15.
Coast, I'm not naming his name, and this is what he's done with his life. is he blew all his money, had no fucking plan when he got out, fully able to work, right? He had all of his limbs and shit, and fucking he so he's looking for handouts because I'm not saying the guy's lazy or these people are lazy. I'm saying they didn't have a plan, and now they're going to fall back on social assistance, if you want to call it that caters towards their status as veterans.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm saying you need to have a fucking plan. No one gives a fuck about you but you, to use your words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those organizations are intended as fallbacks and temporary solutions to get you by if things go to shit. And yeah, things go to shit. I get that.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
you need to have a fucking plan. It comes full circle.
Yeah.
If you have the opportunity to take advantage of what Transition Center offers as far as the services go, absolutely take advantage of them.
And
Because-
schooling options and all
right?
sorts of things.
All that
Yeah.
shit. And then make sure you understand your educational rights or which you're entitled to to help pay for school. And make sure you know all of your fucking entitlements prior to your release. And if you don't know that, there are people outside the system, like the volunteers down at the Veterans Association Food Bank, who can walk you through your entitlements, which is what should happen at Transition Center, I would hope.
100% there is.
And then help you with any of your Veterans Affairs type stuff that needs to happen from there, whether it's claims or whatever. At least get you your K number and get things going. That's what I guess my messaging. That's pretty much what I got for tonight.
Yeah, and even if you don't have a plan and you have to bail at the end of the day, there's options out there now. There's so many options out there. It just comes down to, if you're at the rock bottom of things, all you have to do is reach out and ask. The services are there. There's help. There's options for talk therapy. There's options for psychotherapy. There's psychedelic options now for different medications. Physiotherapy, chiropractor, all that kind of stuff is available for veterans.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's if you're all fucked up, and I'm talking about just normal dudes who are perfectly, well, whatever that means these days.
Yeah. If you've done 20 years in the military,
yeah, you're probably not completely normal.
and a
People
couple
that are
injuries.
capable and able to work that don't know what they want to do.
Yeah.
There's things for you too. There's workshops. On LinkedIn, there's I can't remember the name. I'm gonna Google it and I'll post a link to it on YouTube later on, or on my Twitter or whatever. That it's companies
in the comments below.
In the comments below that specialize or target veterans. Like, what the fuck? It's gonna drive me nuts, man. If anybody watching knows what I'm talking about. Like it's companies that job place veterans.
Oh, there's that scan seminar that'll go in and
was it helmets to hard hats or some bullshit?
Oh, that's
yeah.
it from helmets to hard hats or an organization like that.
Yeah.
That's it.
CISIP. Yeah, CISIP will help you with that kind of stuff. Basically transition all of your military skills over to a resume base. Yeah.
Absolutely dig into that. But yeah, that helmets to hard hats are from bayonets to work boots or some shit.
Yeah, there's also a couple of senior peers in the area too. There's always somebody who knows benefits pretty well, like the back of their hand, who's retired MWO, retired warrant officer, somebody who's been around for a while. There's always somebody to pick your brain too. So
yeah, the networking is huge. I've helped a lot of guys rewrite their resumes. Like you can't just have on your resume drove tank, fired big gun.
Yeah, that's actually a paid service.
How to translate, what you've done if you did a senior leaders course or an ILQ, whatever the fuck they call it this month. Into middle management. It's all verbiage and how you phrase a lot of your skills and rewrite it. And I've helped a few people rewrite their resumes, after being in the civ industry for a while. So take advantage of that shit. It's out there. If you got any questions, get at me. I'll point you in the right direction. I'll try to post as many links on the stuff as I can when to look them up. And
if you're listening, check out the Dean Blundell website and get some merch.
Yes, I was going to plug the merch, but
Fire for Effect merch.
go there, buy this shit, man. All the money. I've sold one hoodie so far.
Well done.
I make no money, no fucking money. All of it goes to the food bank, which helps with all the shit we've been talking about.
100%.
So anything you buy, a t-shirt, a ball hat, or a hoodie, yeah, that whatever after the overhead, fuck it, all goes to the Veterans Association Food Bank. Link down below. Yeah. All right, let's wrap this shit up. Thanks everybody for listening tonight, and we'll see everybody in 1 week. I better thank my sponsors here. First of all, Fire for Effect and Fire for Effect Live are brought to you by DeanBlundell.com. Go to DeanBlundell.com, Canada's largest digital source of sports news and all kinds of crazy ass shit. My podcast is on there, and you can listen to it audibly. You can hear it. And there's a bunch of other good ones as well. So check that out. Positive Mike's Brewing Company. Mike was watching tonight. You can still get the gear. Check out Mike's social media. I have the privilege of enjoying the beer. I am running low, Mike. We'll work something out. Mr. Hooper Inc. Again, my man Bryce. If you're looking for alternative sources to medicine and all that good stuff, check out, get a hold of Bryce. DM him. You get him on all of his social medias as well. And last but not least, my good friends at Lakeside Farmstead, Jeff None and his family, banging out amazing dairy products. Their cheese keeps evolving and getting better and better. It is sold throughout the Edmonton area. You'll have to check it out. And the only producer of Wagyu cross beef in northern Alberta. So it's been a lot of fun. We're going to shut this shit down. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next week.